this is what I do on my newsletter. They gave me this newsletter and they're like, you can write 500 words about anything at the top. And it's like, this is the easiest thing I've ever done. You just say something about, it's like, and I feel like I listen to so many podcasts that
Uh-huh.
I just like, I just write about anything.
Howdy, it's Tuesday, June 27th, 2023, and this is episode 205 of Due for a Win, the Atlantic City podcast. I'm Kyle Eskin, joined by a special guest, joined by probably someone whose name we've mentioned either the most or maybe the second most on this podcast since we've started 205 episodes ago, and that is Amy S. Rosenberg of the Philadelphia Inquirer. How you doing, Amy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I just want to say, like, what a big honor it is to talk to you. I think between you and Wayne Perry of the AP, you're definitely the two people that we've linked to the most, articles from that have talked about various things that are going on in the city. And I was mentioning to you a little bit before we started, but I think that, what me and Craig do is, we're more or less a tourism focused podcast, but it's people like you that are really doing the important stuff for the city and writing the articles that I think really matter and doing all the hard work. So just thank you so much for doing the work you do.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, I am a fan of the podcast, and I think the perspective is a really important one that sometimes when you're here and you're living here, you don't always get that perspective. So I learn a lot from it.
Right. And I think it works the other way too. For me, who's someone who lives kind of near Washington, D.C., who visits 4 or 5 times a year, I think the perspective of the locals who actually live there on the ground is really important for us too. So we'll get a little bit more into the city, but I think before we talk about you and some general questions about Atlantic City, I just want to talk about one quick piece of news that's major enough to kind of interrupt this interview that's different from the last podcast we've put out, which is that the Island Water Park opening date, which was set for sometime at the end of July, has been moved to Friday, June 30th, and we will link to an article from one Amy S. Rosenberg talking about it. So you were at the, I don't know what it was the kickoff party for it, right?
Yeah, it was, it started as Bart's VIP party, and then it became a media event and a VIP party. So it wasn't open yet, but he used the time to announce an opening date, which is June 30th.
Uh-huh.
So they had typical Bart Blatstein, big brouhaha, and a lot of food, a lot of drinks, a lot of mermaid themed characters, surfers. But it was impressive. It looked really nice in there. So.
I mean, certainly for me, reading your article, looking at the pictures of the mermaids and the mermen, I guess, seemed very over the top, but, it's Bart.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, he's always over the top. He starts out over the top and everybody kind of holds their breath and hopes that this will be, this will work. And it's a beautiful space, it's glass and the waterfall is cool, with it fills up with a giant bucket that dumps every once in a while. It's got a surf wave pool. I don't know, it looked beautiful. People were impressed by it. There's been a lot of talk about the pricing structure. The pricing structure has changed, it hasn't even opened yet, and it's changed.
It's gotten a little cheaper, and I actually got an email from them today because I think I'm still on the Showboat mailing list from when it was a casino or whatever, and they mentioned you can buy 3 and get 1 free now for the opening, but it's gone down $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I think it's maybe something that's unfortunate about this that you can probably say about a lot of Atlantic City is it probably is going to price a lot of the locals out, but, I don't know if that's necessarily, a lot of the group they're trying to bring in. It's probably more for people who may go to the Poconos instead or whatever in that water park, or there's a water park down shore a little bit, right? And where is it? Ocean City or Wildwood or something like that?
Outdoor water parks in like Ocean City and Wildwood that are just seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll I know like local kids at school groups are going to go through it, and I imagine that they'll have some pricing that will include locals or figure out a way to do it. So I think it really depends on people sort of kind of being a destination.
Right.
We'll go to Atlantic City. Summer we'll go to the beach one day, but then we'll go to the water park. Who are those people? Will they come? Will they stay at Showboat? Maybe. it is beautiful.
Uh,
So
so do you think it's gonna be a big success? I mean, do you think? I mean, I think it has the
well, as
opportunity. If it is a
if you
success, I think it's gonna be pretty transformative for the city. I think it could be a huge deal.
yeah, a game changer, as
Hmm.
they say. As if you follow Jitney Guy on Twitter,
Hmm.
Frank, who is a very astute observer, he said his comment was, "It's a bad day for the naysayers." So I don't want to be a naysayer. It hasn't opened yet. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
There's no reason it shouldn't be a big success. But I don't know. Atlantic City has a way of
I,
taking things that should be big successes and finding a way not to do it.
I mean, I think the only, if it is a beautiful space and if it gets good reviews, the only possible reason it wouldn't be a success is I think Atlantic City still has some amount of, a reputation of being like, somehow this dangerous place or whatever, and like it's not a good place to be or not a safe place for families or whatever. I don't know
Yeah,
how.
well, it's totally a safe place. I mean,
Mm,
I think the beaches in Atlantic City are very undervalued by
mm,
people. They're under the radar for a lot of people. Not everybody. They're crowded beaches. They're beautiful beaches. They're free. So Atlantic City is a big family destination, and if this can reach other families that don't now go to Atlantic City, that would be a huge success. Because I do think, like, I mean, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but I think real estate in the town is undervalued
mm.
compared to other shore towns, and so this might be a way to kind of get people thinking about Atlantic City who've been priced out of other towns. Puts it a little bit on the radar for people in who maybe overlook it a
Uh-huh.
lot.
Uh,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I agree 100%. I think this does have the opportunity to bring in maybe a group of people that would never consider Atlantic City kind of
yeah,
before. I mean, as a child, we periodically went, and I grew up near Baltimore, but we did go to Ocean City, New Jersey, a few summers or whatever. I think my parents, frankly, liked that it was a dry town. I think that was like
yeah,
a pool for
yeah,
them. So like Atlantic City
yeah.
was something that like we absolutely never would have done as a child. But I think something like this could be good, and I think there is a lot of potential in Atlantic City. I think there's always been a lot of potential in Atlantic City, and it's just
Yeah.
hopefully one day it'll realize it.
Yeah. It's about, and then there's a whole other issue in terms of the business end of how do you make something like this successful?
Hmm.
Like how much money did Bart spend of his own money versus,
Hmm.
so it's a calculus that goes beyond, do people like it?
So,
So
do we know what the situation with that was? Because I know, he's been talking about this for a while, obviously, and then I know there was a while that he's like, I need to sell whatever $100 million worth of bonds or whatever
yeah.
to get this done. Is it? Did he raise money that way to get a lot of this done, or do you have any sense of
I
what?
think ended up being kind of complicated.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't think he originally got what he needed, and then
Hmm.
he found a way to finance it separately
Hmm.
from that. So yeah, he's got to make it work.
All right. Well, we can see what happens. But I guess the real reason we're here is I wanted to ask you some questions about your background and yeah, kind of your insights into the city. So, like, I guess first, like, what is your background? Like, where did you grow up, and how did you get introduced to the Jersey Shore in general and Atlantic City specifically?
Yeah, so I'm like a fake local. I'm not
Hmm.
really a local. I grew up in New York, grew up on Long Island, going to like Jones Beach, parking in the parking lots up there. So the Jersey Shore is something I never really went to as a kid.
Hmm.
I don't have those memories. The concept kind of this beach towns was sort of new to me. But like I said, I grew up with beaches that were parking lots and beaches. My first experience with Atlantic City was like in college, like everyone, turn 21, you drive down to Atlantic City, play blackjack.
Hmm.
And then I worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer um, in Philly for the first part of my career, and then came down to this area in 1995 and started working down here. Kind of just started working covering Jersey Shore. At that time, we had I was the third person in our Jersey Shore bureau, Atlantic City. So we did a lot of local coverage.
Hmm.
Atlantic City was a big story. We had big time reporters on it.
Hmm.
When casinos came, George Anastasia was like a very famous mob reporter who had
Uh-huh.
worked in Atlantic City for a long time. Um, Now it's just kind of me part time doing this and doing other things for Atlantic City.
Right.
So yeah, so that's professionally how I came to Atlantic City. My first introduction really to Atlantic City personally, other than driving down in college. My husband's from the Philly area, so he really grew up coming to Atlantic City. So one of our first dates, we went to Harrah's and we snuck into the Harrah's pool,
Uh-huh.
which was like a big tradition in his family. Like they had Harrah's towels, like a whole Harrah's thing. Uh, and then we won $20 at the slots
Hmm.
after sneaking into the pool, or and then we went to Tony's Baltimore Grill and we
Oh,
had pizza, and that
amazing.
was and I married him.
I mean, that sounds like enough. I mean, how could you not at that point?
It's enough, right? It's pretty good, pretty good, yeah.
So you mentioned that you started at, I guess, the shore beat in 1995 with the Inquirer, and it was three people. I mean, I want to say one thing, and you can respond. So, like, I mean, back in 1995, Atlantic City was still, it was probably towards the tail end of it, but I think it was still the biggest gambling market in the world, probably in the world. It was bigger than Vegas at that point. It wasn't until I think maybe the very end of the 90s or the beginning of the
Well,
2000s.
that
But
yeah, it was definitely in the boom
uh-huh.
period, and it was sort of like it had the monopoly on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the only U.S. gambling venue outside of Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was had a kind of exalted state.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it was very different then. It was
Right.
sort of the beginning of the end for Trump Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I have this memory in our old office of we had a fax machine, and I have this literal memory of the press release coming on the fax machine that declared the settlement in the bankruptcy case of Trump Entertainment, taking away the majority ownership from Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
you know, like all this was happening in Atlantic City in the 90s,
Right.
and then so yeah, so like since 95, like it's been incredible, like roller coaster catastrophic events in Atlantic City, and so went through all the recession,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the casinos closing, and the takeover by the state. So it's an incredible place, as you know. It's an incredible place to visit. It's an incredible place to write about.
Mm-hmm.
It's endlessly fascinating.
Yeah.
Uh,
So how
so
much do you think you mentioned you were one of three reporters back at the beginning, and now you're doing it part time. Like, how much of that is that Atlantic City's kind of gone down in importance in the country and locally, and how much of it is just that's what what
just
media is, the way that media's gone, and
I mean, I
like
say
especially local
I,
media.
I'm like full time down covering it, but
Mm-hmm.
the way newspapers cover and news organizations
Mm-hmm.
cover things has evolved. I mean, like the Atlantic City Press has shrunk
Mm-hmm.
in
All right.
terms of
Obviously, I mean,
like
with they just have gone back to or gone down to 3 days a week, right, for the Atlantic City,
3
mhm,
days
Press of
print.
Atlantic City.
Yeah, 3 days print,
Mm-hmm.
and the number of reporters covering Atlantic City
Yeah.
is just a handful. In terms of my job, I write a lot about the Jersey Shore. I also do just general features, and our interest in Atlantic City. There's a lot of interest among Philly people in Atlantic City stories, but our interest, in covering like municipal government and being watchdogs, it kind of goes up and down. Some there like when Don Guardian was mayor and the state Christie took over, there was like theatrics every
Right.
day, all kinds of issues, and there's periods where we get really interested in issues of the poverty in Atlantic City and the tale of two cities, the money and the casinos and the persistent poverty
Mm-hmm.
elsewhere, and then there was years where Miss America was the fate of Miss America was the biggest story I could
Right.
write about. um I almost forget that Miss America was here, but like what
I mean,
funny
so I know that was a big part of your beat for a long time. Like, so like
Miss America.
is it done now? Is it?
Do you think it was a big part of my beat?
I don't know. It's something you put in your
So
Twitter
I
biography, right?
avoided Miss America for years and years. I ducked, I hid under in my closet so I wouldn't have to cover Miss America. Um, at the parade they
Mm-hmm.
had was a wonderful event for locals. The
Mm-hmm.
Show Us Your Shoes parade. We went to it, brought our kids. We sat in rolling chairs,
Mm-hmm.
parked. Miss America contestants came by. It was a great event.
Uh-huh.
I did not want to cover Miss America. Ultimately, I was, last reporter standing.
Uh-huh.
So I covered Miss America. The only time I used, and then I for a while went to like the preliminaries in Boardwalk Hall,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like ride my bike there and sit in the upper deck to Boardwalk Hall and like tweet about it,
Mm-hmm.
which was fun. And man, the only time I ever actually covered Miss America pageant in person was the year they went to Las Vegas,
Mm-hmm.
which was really amazing because they treated the New Jersey reporter, Miss America treated the New Jersey reporters like we were the family of
Mm-hmm.
their first husband, like they didn't want to see us. We were just spoiling the whole fun to show up in Las Vegas where they were trying to pretend that people cared about them. But yeah, now I'm very proud not to cover Miss America, and nobody's really, it's like forgotten. But
Yeah.
it was a cool thing. It would, it reminded you that Atlantic City was great,
Yeah.
back in the day.
Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, I can remember when I was growing up, it's it was something that was still important enough that it would be on the TV for us when it was on, but it's I think even the way my parents were talking about it was like even then in like the early 90s, like a little bit past its time,
yeah, a lot past this time.
and
Yeah,
yeah, but by the time, I mean, a couple of years ago, it was way past its time, probably. So,
yeah, yeah. Like a lot of things in Atlantic City, it's like, do you hate this? Do you love it?
right. I mean,
I
it's an
moved to
important
this
part of the
place.
history of the city, I think.
Yeah,
So,
I moved down here. My kids became cheerleaders, and we watched Miss America. Like, what
hmm
happened? But it's still it's a very cool place. My girls loved growing up in this area. They went to Atlantic City High School, which is a great high school,
hmm
and they became locals.
so you mentioned a bit about Don Guardian and the takeover with Chris Christie. So just remind us. So right now, I believe the original takeover bill was supposed to end in 2021, and they decided to keep it going because of COVID. I think was the reason that they gave. But what's
Yeah,
what's
like
the status of the takeover now?
the current mayor, kind of Marty Small.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of decided to work with it rather than fight it, and same with the state government decided that it was okay. It wasn't, they didn't have to fight it.
Right.
So
I mean, if what I
yeah, everybody
remember.
kind of just lives with it. So
What I remember was that back when it was first happening, Marty Small was like very strongly on the side of Don Guardian, being 100% against the state takeover. It seemed like the city council kind of was split 50-50 whether it was a good thing or a bad thing, and Guardian and Small were against it. But yeah, when it came back up a couple of years ago, it seemed like Marty Small wouldn't say that he was okay with continuing it, but he said that he had a productive relationship with the state or whatever, and it seemed like, everyone was sort of okay with it going on for another, was it 4 years it got extended or something like that to 2025, 2026? Is that what the status is now?
yeah, something like that. Like I
Right.
said, we don't follow it
Right.
that closely anymore. But yeah, no, it's the kind of thing that I think both sides realized um, wasn't the big civil rights. Was it a fascistic takeover, as
Mm-hmm.
Don Guardian accused it? The governor Murphy was against it, but then when he came in and
Right.
said, "Hey, this isn't really a bad idea. Um, this is kind of working to have this oversight." But the city council kind of functions as if it's not a state takeover,
Mm-hmm.
so the state's a little more hands off than they were. It's weird,
Right.
because Marty Small is all over the place, and he's doing this, doing that. And he's a very active mayor,
Mm-hmm.
but in some sense, his power is definitely, in theory, checked by the state. So
Right.
he works closely with the state. But I think there became some understanding that this actually maybe was working.
Mm-hmm.
you know.
So what do you like? at least me personally, I've gotten a lot of opinions from people who maybe aren't the most knowledgeable at the city about the city, but their opinion is, like maybe the state takeover is a good thing because, Atlantic City's run things so badly for such a long time. But then every example they cite is like, it's like completely blighted around these casinos. There's nothing built there. And, I have to be like, well, actually, that's not the city's fault. That's the state through the CRDA that's like not allowing people to build on this property or whatever. So it's maybe not 100% their fault. Like, how do you feel about that argument or the argument that, which I think is true, that the state takes a lot of the revenue that Atlantic City creates and moves it out of the city to do other things with it?
Yeah, I mean, they don't do that as much as they used to. When the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority was started, they took that the tax off the top and they spread it around the state kind of. Now they've stopped doing that. They've tried to focus more on Atlantic City, but their power has kind of been curtailed. But they still control the tourism district, which is kind of every place that a tourist would go.
Right.
There's a lot of issues there, and it's kind of like, well, this is CRDA is supposed to be handling this. Atlantic City is tough. It's like they made such a big deal of imploding Trump Plaza. Like we have to implode. Trump Plaza has to be imploded for this city to move forward.
Right.
Like, this is it. This is such a great day in Atlantic City. And it was really cool.
Right.
It was great.
But then nothing's happened with that space since then, right?
It's empty. Right. It's horrible. And it's not horrible. It's just a big vacant.
I mean, it's kind of ugly, and it has like the one hotel tower still there, and it's not great.
It's still got on the parking area the kind of remnant of the Trump Plaza logo that looks like golden hair, I guess. I mean, it's cool to have that one last thing that Trump, to remind you. But I just always think about how we're finally going forward. We've gotten Carl Icahn to implode Trump Plaza. Okay, now it looks terrible.
Right. I mean, it wasn't looking great beforehand or whatever. So,
but nothing's happened.
Right. No.
So, it's Atlantic City it's got things like that all over town.
I mean, something else we always talk about is the old Atlantic City Hilton space, which is also just kind of an eyesore sitting down there near Stockton now, doing nothing. Who knows if anything's going to happen there, or if it's going to end up getting imploded too.
There's always ideas something's going to happen. There was going to be a water park there.
There was going to be a water park. It was going to be student housing. It's going to be condos. It's going to be, who knows what.
So if you ignore that particular property, that area, so it's Chelsea, they've got a neighborhood development association. So there's some money being infused in that greater area, the Chelsea neighborhood of Atlantic City, which is basically around the old Hilton where Knife and Fork Inn is, and then back toward the bay. There's a lot of little restaurants there, a lot, Honduran restaurants and Peruvian restaurants, and Stockton is there, the university, and the Good Dog Bar just opened.
Yeah, the new one. Yep.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And they fixed up a little bit that O'Donnell Park. So you could sit at the Good Dog Bar by the windows open. You're looking at a city park. My husband and I, this is another variation on the theme. We got a pizza from Tony's Baltimore Grill recently on our bicycles, and we went to this park, O'Donnell Park, which is right near the Knife and Fork at the end of Route 40 when you're coming into town that way off exit 2. And we sat in the grass, and there was people playing cricket. It was clean. It was beautiful. There's painted chairs, and I was like, is this Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia? I'm gonna pretend, it feels like a real city park. So, that's that part of Atlantic City. But then, if you look over your shoulder, is this enormous, empty, decaying building, So I don't know.
Yeah. So you were talking a bit about the food in Atlantic City, and I think that's something you have written a decent bit about. So I
have tried every pizza place on the boardwalk.
So you've brought it up. I was going to save this maybe, but you wrote an article a year or two ago about every pizza place in Atlantic City on the boardwalk, and I do have my one kind of complaint about your writing is that I think your number one place was the Jersey Shore Pizza and Grill, and me and Craig went, and our pizza was not very good that day. So I think it could be
Listen, The
Well,
joke was none of them are like
right. None of your ratings are
great.
that high. So, but we actually, I think second or third on your list was Steel Pier Pizza, which we've gone back to several times, and
Yeah,
we
it's
actually think
better.
is legitimately good. So, but yeah,
Listen, my slice that day was good from Jersey Shore. What can
yeah,
I tell you?
it just wasn't good. I mean, it was like 3 p.m. on a weekday or whatever, and who knows how much business they were doing or whatever. There's probably some variability there, but no. So like, what are good places to eat in Atlantic City that people may not know about? We talk a lot about kind of the more well-known areas. We talk about the Orange Loop quite a lot.
Yeah,
But
they have a new restaurant there this year,
mhm,
the
the
Cardinal.
Cardinal, yep.
I
We
went
we
to it in its Ventnor
mhm,
incarnation. It used to be a Ventnor as Cardinal Bistro,
mhm.
just much smaller space. Was very good food there. I have not been to the new space. We liked Bouret that was there
Yeah,
before.
me and Craig went to Beret and we thought that was very good. We haven't been to Cardinal yet.
So yeah, so food in Atlantic City is great. We've tried to, as I mentioned before, we've tried to get some of these little restaurants that we go
Hmm.
to. There's a Mexican place, El Taquete, which is not in the best part of town, as you guys were mentioned when you're talking about taking walks through
Uh-huh.
Atlantic City. The food is excellent there. That's right on, I think it's Tennessee and Atlantic.
Okay,
Uh,
so another
yeah,
block up from the Orange Loop. Just keep going down Tennessee.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's funny because like people are finding these places a little bit, through the apps and Google Maps. So it's getting a little traffic, but the food is great. Our restaurant critic Craig LeMan couldn't say enough great things about it. We like a Vietnamese place, Pho Sydney. We go to. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Nope.
Um, so I always love the Knife and Fork Bar at Happy Hour.
Uh,
That's one of my all-time faves.
so I've heard it's very hard to get a seat sometimes at happy
Have you
hour.
never been?
I have not been. No.
Yeah, no, okay.
I,
So
I,
that is my ultimate
mhm,
place. I love it's a little hard to get a seat. I
mhm,
mean, you could go after happy hour and just sit at the bar
mhm.
and the only thing that's half price during happy hour are the appetizers, which is a pretty good deal, but you
Mhm.
can also just go. You could just
I,
go a
I,
little bit later
I,
and get a seat at the bar and order
I,
whatever you
I
want,
need to do it. I mean, there's a few of the like really iconic places I have not been to.
That
I
is so
I, I have not been to Chef Vola's. I have not been to Knife and Fork.
yeah,
Probably the two
Shuffle I
worst
like.
iconic
Yeah.
places in Atlantic City. I haven't been to Cafe 2825.
That I've
Craig.
only been like one
Uh
time.
huh.
So the bar at the Knife and Fork was in that space was in the Louis Malle movie Atlantic City,
Mhm.
where Susan Sarandon and
Mhm.
Lancaster had a famous lunch after she washed herself with lemons, and they're in that space.
Uh huh.
So it is just a beautiful. I mean, the whole Knife and Fork Inn is beautiful, but I don't think I've eaten anywhere but the bar
Uh
in
huh.
like 20 years.
I need to do it. There's
Pineapple
no excuse.
martini.
I'll make sure that I go to the knife and fork in the next couple trips I have to Atlantic City.
Yeah. So yeah, so we there's some Jamaican place, Yardies is great. There's a Chef Sheets takeout barbecue, Tony's Baltimore Grill we love.
Tony's Baltimore is very good. I've been there.
Yeah,
Doc's is something that I think is I've been a few times. It's fantastic every time I've been there.
Dax is great. They recently expanded it. So it lost a little bit of that old school charm when it was with tight little
Hmm.
space, which we also love. And they had a room in the back with a special round table we used to go to for like graduation stuff.
Hmm.
That's the same family, the Doherty family.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we love that place. There's a great coffee place on the weekends on Bartram Avenue that they call Remedy Coffee, where these two sisters are roasting coffee and selling it out of the garage.
I
Right,
think I've read a
Bartram.
story about that. Maybe from you, maybe from someone else. But
Maybe.
I feel like it was in one of the newspapers a couple years ago.
Yeah, that's a fun little
Hmm.
place. Back Bay Ale House. Do you
Hmm.
guys ever go there?
Yeah, I've been to Back
Yeah,
Bay a few times.
I
I
always
think the food's all right. It's a very nice place to sit outside and have a beer if it's nice out though. Um,
Chef Vola, we don't go to Chef Vola that much. It's hard to get a reservation.
mhm,
During the pandemic, they started doing takeout, which they don't do anymore. And
mhm,
so we were getting they have they're not known for this, but they have a great eggplant parm that we
mhm.
used to get takeout. But now they don't do takeout anymore.
Right.
So
I mean, right next to Back Bay, I also, I talk about Gilchrist a lot. I think it's fantastic. I know
the
it's
best is great.
locals love it too. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
mm,
No, that's great. I do like those Tennessee Avenue places. I think they're good.
mm,
We try to make a point of trying to seek out some of the smaller places. There's so many of them, you know.
Right, there's tons of restaurants there, and that's a lot of what Craig and I try to do too, is try to get people kind of out of the casinos. I think even more so than in Las Vegas, people in Atlantic City can kind of come and just live their life in the one casino they happen to be staying in, and not leave it. And we're trying to get people, as much as possible to get out and see some of the other
Yeah,
stuff in,
yeah,
in, in
yeah,
town. And I think, there's a lot of great places to eat and a lot of cool things to see and a lot of neat places to have a drink.
yeah. Um, when the Press of AC ran this 50 bites promotion for a few years, where you could go to different places to get an appetizer, and that actually got like locals into the casinos to
Mm-hmm.
see some of the places that we would not go to otherwise.
Right.
And there's some, I'm always like, oh, this is a great restaurant in the casino. I did want to mention one other place that's opening. Are you familiar with that Super Frico thing that's
Yeah.
opening at Caesars?
Yep. Yep.
That's
We've talked about
opening
it
in
a little bit.
Steakhouse.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That whole Spiegel world, the
Mm-hmm.
hook, that's all. It's a psychedelic Italian food. I don't even
Right.
know.
So how often, just because you brought it up, locals going into casinos, like how often would you say that you do end up eating in a restaurant at a casino or whatever as a local? Does it pretty rare or?
It's a little rare for me. I mean, we tend to, but it's not true of all locals.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in more in the off season than in the high season. We go to the casinos like for shows. Like we'll go to Hard Rock.
Mm-hmm.
We love to like ride our bikes up to something on the boardwalk at night. It's so great to just be able to ride your bike and go to a show somewhere. Um, yeah, I mean, not that often.
Right.
We more try to go to non-casino
Right.
restaurants.
I mean, that's if I were a local, I suspect that if I had no other reason to go to a casino, I would not go to a casino to eat either. It's probably just a slightly more expensive dinner than you can get for similar quality, somewhere else.
Yeah, I thought that the Nobu, was it Nobu that
Yeah,
opened up at years? That
that
seemed a little pricey.
it's very very expensive. So we did end up, Craig and I did eat there, but it was because we had a bunch of free food money
Yeah,
basically from
yeah, right.
Caesars.
You
But
get the comps. I don't have the
right,
comps.
right. Without that, no, it's crazy expensive. I mean, it's incredibly good. One of the best meals of my life, probably, but it was very expensive. Depending on how much you may or may not like food or like Asian food specifically, like it's hard for me to say whether it would or would not be worth it to any given person, given how expensive it is. I mean, it was with one drink each. Maybe it was something like $200 a person or something for us,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
it's very expensive. So something that
Kelsey's is another great restaurant on Pacific Ave. Let's not forget
yeah,
Kelsey.
I have not been either to Kelsey's, nor have I been
Hard to get
to
into. Yeah,
Kelsey and Kim's, which seems like a spin-off restaurant over in Gardner Basin that they
yeah,
have.
yeah. Kelsey's is a line out the door all the time.
Mm-hmm. No,
But
it's something I need to check out. I mean, one of the reasons I tell myself, like, I'm not the biggest Italian food fan in the world, so I'm like, I'm not that excited about Chef Vola's necessarily, but like soul food, like that is something that I think is very good. So I do need to go to Kelsey's.
yeah, or Chef Sheed's Barbecue, which is more of a takeout place, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not far from Ocean Casino.
So something you mentioned when I was emailing you about coming on the show, because Craig's out on his due for a win, leave, I guess, or whatever. He's moving houses. Actually, today I think is the day he moved. But you mentioned that you had some advice for the best way to walk from Margate to Atlantic City. So go ahead.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
definitely
So
all ears.
I followed. I thought it was riveting when you guys were talking about like what it would be like to walk
Mm-hmm.
through Ventnor and Margate,
Mm-hmm.
as if it was like it was just this foreign land that you'd
Yeah.
only heard about.
I really have not. We've been as far south as we did dinner at Rife, which I guess is like the very edge of the southern tip of Atlantic City, right?
Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know if I've ever really been to Ventnor or Margate other than on the boardwalk. So
Yeah.
it is sort of
On
a
the
foreign land for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, and you were right. Like, there's kind of cool shops in Margate and
Mm-hmm.
Ventnor. I mean, it's kind of worth looking at. That great coffee shop, 7311, and
Mm-hmm.
Water Dog. Water Dog is a great restaurant there, bagel based restaurant. I have to say, the best way to traverse the entire boardwalk, which does go to the end of
Mm-hmm.
Ventnor, would be on a bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we walk all the time. We'll walk. You can walk, I guess, if you're going to do 8 mile, 10
Right.
mile walk. you could do it all. But I think the classic iconic way to kind of do that entire thing would be on a bicycle. There also is the possibility of walking on the beach, which you
Mm-hmm.
guys should consider, which is another time honored way to walk
Mm-hmm.
uh, out of Atlantic City down to Vancouver. But the boardwalk, I mean, we countless times will go on the bike and go all the way to Gardner's Basin. Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's a nice walk to walk through Ventnor and Margate. It's better than being in a car this time of year. You do
Yeah.
not want to be in a
Yeah.
car anywhere near these places. But yeah. So
Definitely.
I actually think the bicycle is the way to go,
All
and
right.
you can
So.
rent a bicycle now
Mm-hmm.
in Atlantic City in a couple
So
of places.
rent a bicycle, go down the boardwalk. That's the way to do
Ride
it.
the boardwalk, get out
Yeah.
of the casino.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Face the
So.
sunshine. I mean, they used to never want you to leave the casino, right?
Mm-hmm.
They no windows, no.
Right. Right. No clocks. No. Yeah. Sense of what time it is, what the weather's like. Yeah. No. That's is how they're designed. Certainly.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true, but there was always rumors, kind of when we were growing up, that it's like an especially oxygen-rich environment because they want to keep you like alert and awake as long as possible or whatever. I don't know if that's true or not,
Oh,
but
really? That's interesting.
it seems like as I've reached this age and have seen a lot of urban legends, it sounds like one of them. But I don't know. I mean, certainly
I think they've done a
there's like
lot
they
of.
like perfume the air slightly. It's like smells different than the rest of the world. But
I mean, I do think they did a lot. A lot of the casinos really tried to make it safer in there during, COVID, as far
mm-hmm.
as like improving circulation, ventilation. Like the
Sure.
casinos, like especially the newer ones, are pretty good that way. So I think the air's okay there if you're not in the smoking section,
Right.
which is
Right.
another issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that is something that has come up. It seems like from what I've seen, there is a push to try to eliminate
Yeah.
smoking in casinos. It seems like there's probably enough votes even to pass it, and it seems like leadership is dragging their feet.
Yeah.
For I guess probably the usual New Jersey reasons, and not letting it get a vote because it seems like it would pass. So do you think that's something that's going to happen, or
I mean, there's been a lot of lobbying for it on behalf of mostly
the
on behalf of
dealers?
casino workers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the unions. So, but I don't know. There's always like this, if we don't have smoking, we can't make any money.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Yeah, yeah, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, what do you think about like the future in terms of if I can turn the table for a
Mm-hmm.
second, the casinos in other areas like New York area. I mean, that's really what's sort of looming
Mm-hmm.
for Atlantic City, right? When they have
Yeah.
the metal casinos.
Yeah,
Whatever, if that counts. Yeah.
it's hard for me to say for sure. I mean, I would like to be able to say that Atlantic City is going to be fine. I think Atlantic City is always going to be some unique place because there's going to be some number of casinos there, like close together, and it's going to be like this sort of neat town that you can go and like check out a few different places if you are into casino gambling, and hopefully the rest of the town gets more and more amenities, like this water park that's been built in Showboat and other things to do. That's going to
You
make it a
guys
bit
really like to gamble. Like
right. Right.
that gambling is your activity, your main
Uh,
activity.
I mean,
Here.
for me more than Craig probably, but yeah, I mean, I think it is an important part of what we do, and I think it's an important part of like or what our listeners do. It's a lot of why they're listening to the podcast. I think that is always going to be a draw. Yeah, I hope it's going to be fine. I mean, I think once casinos do open, whether it be in the Meadowlands or Jersey City, or whether it be in New York City or wherever, it's going to be another big hit, like it probably is that there's a few casinos in Philadelphia that was probably a big hit too. And, before then, they opened casinos in Delaware, and that was probably a hit too. So,
Yeah. I mean, I guess that what people were watching here is sort of, with the sports gambling, it's been a big success, and it's
mm-hmm.
brought a lot of people to town. But then primarily the revenue is off the internet and your phone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean for the casinos? Is it in the end really going to be the thing that saves them? But it's bringing a lot of revenue in for them, that's for sure. So, but Atlantic City, I don't know. There is a reason to come to Atlantic City, and as opposed to just going to your most local casino. I mean, people in Philly still come to Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Not as much as day trippers, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just want to go somewhere and gamble for a couple hours, you may as well, like if you're in Philly, go to Rivers Casino or whatever, Philadelphia Live, or whatever the options are there. Or if you're in New York and a new New York based casino or Jersey City casino opens up, then you'll probably go there. But yeah, I would think for like a slightly bigger trip, and this is something Atlantic City I don't think has done a good job of, trying to get people in the way that Las Vegas does, and it's
Yeah.
pretty far from Las Vegas now, I think, and there's some steps that need to be taken. But
I mean, the other kind of theme that people talk about are, getting people to buy in Atlantic City, like the plan for Bader Field with
mm-hmm.
the auto enthusiast centric, development that's now sort of moving forward. That is hard to really imagine. Who are those people that are bring their Lamborghinis to race, and buy
Yeah.
property? I don't know. They're temporarily taking over the ice skating rink down there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a net loss for the local community for now. Like I was saying earlier, Atlantic City real estate compared to other shore towns is cheap.
It's incredibly cheap. I mean, I
Yeah.
think as far as shore towns go, like it's hard to get something for cheaper. I mean, for me, like I've even looked into a little bit, like can I get a vacation house down there? And the thing that scares me away always is this isn't an Atlantic City specific thing, though, and I think it is a little bit worse there. But New Jersey property taxes, I think, are absolutely crazy for people that are out of state like me. And I mean,
Yeah.
it's like paying rent on
Yeah.
property you own at the same time, more or less.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people buying up properties and making them Airbnb
Airbnbs.
and doing really well with that in Atlantic City. But
Yeah.
that I don't know, long term, that's not. Atlantic City lost a lot of its population. It has a really high percentage of people who rent as opposed to buy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like you know, that part of the city is just needs a solution. It's a city. It needs like people to buy property and come to live there and work there, and it's still not. It's incredible in some ways how small the population is compared to
Right.
how big the casino industry is. But that's an old story.
Right. That
It's
that
really a
is, and
small town with like this big industry kind of tacked on the end of it.
yeah, a huge number of employees there. Yeah, they just a lot of them don't actually live in the city. They live in whatever Egg Harbor Township or Pleasantville or places outside of the city. And
Egg Harbor Township is a big city population wise.
mm-hmm.
I think it's bigger than Atlantic City in terms of
Mm-hmm.
population. So yeah, some of this, yeah.
I think
Yeah, everybody's trying stuff. Yeah.
it's something that if they could, it's the chicken and the egg problem. Like if more people lived in Atlantic City and it had more kind of big city amenities, it would become more desirable place to live for people. But right now it's a city, I think, with a lot of the same problems as other cities have, but without a lot of the upsides, if that makes sense, of some bigger
I mean,
cities.
yeah, I mean, my philosophy with Atlantic City, and I live in Ventnor. I live just
Mm-hmm.
outside Atlantic City. But I try to treat it like a big city,
Mm-hmm.
like see what happens, what would I do if I were in, San Francisco this afternoon? I'd go get noodles. So I'm gonna do that. It's raining. What am I gonna do? So I'm gonna do that in Atlantic
Right.
City. We're gonna go sit in this park and eat, or we're gonna find the little, Honduran restaurant that everybody's talking about, or, we're gonna take our bikes and go, get a drink and go see a concert at the Hard Rock,
Mm-hmm.
Um, or we're gonna go do boxing at Boardwalk Hall. So
Mm-hmm.
I try to, I think I know what you're saying, and at times it feels like it's not quite. It falls short of being this like city. Am I near
Mm-hmm.
a city? Or I have to drive to Philly to be near a city. But I don't know. That it's that. You have to seek it out maybe a little bit more than other cities. But I think it. Yeah, I love it. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
love being in Atlantic City and trying to find all the places and like there's all these new things like the Good Dog Bar,
Mm-hmm.
Philly place that came down here and it holds the promise of like, wow, this is great. I'm sitting by the window and looking at a city park and I'm in Atlantic City.
All right.
But it's like, how do you put it all together?
And I think it is moving in the right way. I think that since we've started, and like this is even before the podcast, since me and Craig have talked about it, like if you look at casino revenues, let's say, like the city's probably like halved in terms of those or whatever from 2010 2011. But I think it is a more functional city now. There's like certainly a lot more to bring me in now than there was back then in terms of, there's Tennessee Avenue with a bunch of cool places. There's probably a lot of other new restaurants, and the Walk is a reasonably recent thing, though it was predated that by a little bit. Or Stockton coming in, and I think it's becoming a more and more viable place to live every day, and I hope it continues on that trajectory.
It's
But
tough though, because like even like tennis, like Atlantic
mhm,
Avenue is still a
right.
mess in a lot of places, and it shouldn't be. And then the Walk is successful. Like every
Mhm,
local go to the Walk, everyone goes to the Walk. But like the true business district, in Atlantic City on Atlantic Avenue, is a little less
right.
than optimal in some areas.
That's
Some great spots there, Yardies, Jamaican places there. That's a
mhm,
great restaurant. There's definitely places there, but yeah, it's they have it somehow sometimes it feels like it doesn't all come together.
right.
But and maybe that's true of other cities. And Atlantic City is so small geographically, it's tiny. So it's
Mm,
like there's the casino one block, there's the bay, there's the mess in the middle of
mhm,
town, and there's the great, there's Chef Bola. Whoa, we're all here. It's all
right.
like so close together that, it's hard to put it together.
I mean, sort of my last topic of conversation is if is there one thing that you think Atlantic City's missing to kind of make that next step to become a more desirable place to live? Is there like just one thing that Atlantic City's missing for you, or like what's needed to take the next step in its development?
I mean, more homeowners, more
Mm-hmm.
people living there. I think recently there've been last few years. There have been a lot more like young people that have kind of decided they love Atlantic City. Artists, and they've done a lot of murals in town. They've started this art gallery next to Tony's Baltimore Grill. This Union Hall Arts, and there's like full moon raves on the beach, and that Anchor Rock Club is another place that's trying to bring a big city amenity to Atlantic City, like just a regular old rock club. So yeah, I think it needs like people.
Mm-hmm.
It needs a lot of people, and it needs the people that are here, the longtime residents, have to be given opportunities and paths to buying home ownership and better jobs, and make it a place that people want to invest in. And I feel like the tourism investment is kind of there, and there's Bart Blatsteins are there, and there's always people coming in trying to bring something new to the town. But yeah, I think what it really needs are like people to want to say, I want to live in this place, and here's a place I want to buy, and I'm able to buy it, and I've got this job. So that part of it is tough. There's I think a lot, 30-40% poverty
Mm-hmm.
rate among residents, and just this like really low percentage of home ownership among year-round residents is, I think, a problem.
So I want to kind of end the main part of our conversation with one last question. So usually we do this at the beginning of the show, but our kind of always once more never again segment. So like what do you think like of I see Atlantic City as having kind of three major parts. Kind of the casinos are one big part. It's the backbone, I think, of the tourism industry, which is I'm sure the biggest industry by far in Atlantic City. There's the beach and the boardwalk. I think they're interconnected. Obviously the boardwalk is very historical. I think the first boardwalk in the world. And then there's sort of everything else that we've talked about the city, with all the great restaurants and all the cool locales and Stockton and the Walk and Gardner's Basin and just everything else. Do you see any of these as being kind of more important for the future of the city, or less important, or like what is it that makes Atlantic City to you?
Hmm. Um. How do I answer that? I mean, it's just such a funny place. I think it's just endlessly fascinating place. Everyone, I mean, the boardwalk is the beating heart of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the beach is the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
the ocean, the rising ocean, the rising sea level ocean.
Right, which
Like
definitely makes its way into Atlantic City plenty often when it rains or whatever.
yeah, I mean, a whole other issue, climate
Mm-hmm.
and windmills and all that for another time. Yeah, another way to experience that boardwalk than walking, and walking is fine, but running. I've been doing more running lately, and and I run into Atlantic City. I mean, it is just the most interesting place. Like, it's just endlessly hilarious and funny and beautiful and weird, so it's all of those things. Yeah, I guess I would say the boardwalk, but
Mm-hmm.
the more corny response would be the people,
Right.
the people. And like there are people in Philly, like sometimes I get asked, like, do people go to the beach in Atlantic City? Like, it's like, yeah, like sometimes people who bypass Atlantic City and take their families to Avalon or Stone Harbor or some of these other
Mm-hmm.
Jersey Shore towns, Atlantic City there is packed. Or reporters will drop in on a Wednesday in February and say, "Oh, the boardwalk was deserted. The
Mm-hmm.
beaches were deserted." Well, it's February. So like but the summer with the Steel Pier,
Mm-hmm.
it was packed with
Oh
families.
yeah. And we've taken our kids to Steel Pier and they had a great time. So
Yeah, and the beaches are beautiful, and the Atlantic City Beach Patrol. It's like a time honored, you know, um, beach patrol. It's like those things are, go back all the way. So it's still a great town in that way. It's still an incredibly eclectic group of people that are, running all the businesses, and some of them actually living there.
mm-hmm.
We went to like a Bangladeshi festival last year at Bader Field, like just incredible. Like, people travel the world to go to like find, the great Honduran restaurant, or the great, I found this restaurant in India that I loved, but all like so much of it is just all you could find that in Atlantic City. So yeah,
All
did
right.
that answer the question?
Sort of. I mean, I think the big takeaway for our listeners is that
Corrupt politicians.
it
That's the eating part.
Amy S. Rosenberg wants to eat the casinos into the ocean, the least important part of the city. So, no, thank you so much for coming on. I do want to mention to all of our listeners that you do have a kind of seasonal summer newsletter out right down the shore, which we
Down the
will
shore. Do that every
definitely
Thursday.
link
Yeah.
to. I'm subscribed to it. I think it is a useful piece of information. It's not all Atlantic City, unfortunately. There's definitely always Atlantic City content in there. I think it's a good newsletter to be subscribed to.
It is free. It is free.
It's definitely free. People can reach out to you, Amy, on Twitter at Amy S. Rosenberg, right? We will definitely link to that as well. Is there any other way that you have that you want to let people know how to reach out to you, or anything else that you want to say?
Email's great. A Rosenberg at Inquirer.com, or
Mm-hmm.
you can link to that, I guess. Twitter is great. I'm on Instagram. Always looking for different perspectives and story ideas, or what should be written about. Yeah, I don't necessarily know the perspective of the tourist as well as I should, maybe. So, or the gambler, the
Mm-hmm.
straight gambler. So I'm always interested in hearing about that, and what are the stories, that we should be writing about.
Well, I just want to thank you again very much for coming on the show, and thank you for all the work you do that we link to so often and get to talk about on the show. And yeah, thanks for everything you do for the city, and I guess everyone who cares about it.
Yeah, thanks for being Atlantic City loyalists.
Yeah,
You guys
it's the least we could do. So yep, thank you again very much, and I think Craig and I will probably be back in a couple of weeks, but yeah, thank you again for everything, Amy.
Hey, thank you.
And now let me just check and make sure I'm recording off the right microphone. I am. Okay.